Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're immersing ourselves in a really chilling case out of Ravenholm, a quiet European town where a woman named Marina Caldwell has just vanished.
And this case was brought to the Fugitive Barrister by Nick Harrington. It's a classic scenario, really. A meticulously planned deception versus sharp investigative strategy.
Right, because you immediately get these two completely conflicting stories.
On one side, there's the husband, Owen Caldwell. He's calm, he's collected.
Almost too calm.
He's got a story ready. He says Marina has, emotional issues, and that she does this sometimes. She leaves to teach me a lesson.
Which is just an odd thing to say, but it paints a picture, right? The unstable wife who runs away. It's almost too neat.
It is too neat. And you contrast that with Marina's sister, Clara. She's the complete opposite. She's distraught and trembling, and she keeps insisting Marina would never leave on her own.
And she has proof, or at least evidence. She points out that Marina's suitcase, all her clothes, everything is untouched.
And that's the conflict right there. The husband's neat story against the sister's raw emotion and the physical evidence of the wardrobe.
So our mission for this deep dive is to get into the methodology. We want to trace how the barrister saw through this really elaborate deception by focusing on human behavior and tiny physical clues.
Let's start with Owen Caldwell himself. The barrister doesn't just look for lies. He looks for dissonance, something that just doesn't feel right.
And Owen's demeanor was the first huge red flag.
It really was. He was polite, composed, and he told his story with absolutely no sign of real concern. The source material even note his pulse was steady.
And his story sounded practiced too smooth. I mean, if your spouse is gone for 3 days, that level of calm isn't strength, it's a performance.
Precisely. For an investigator like the barrister, that steadiness is a much bigger warning sign than, say, outright panic. Panic is chaos. Extreme calm is control.
Okay, so that leads us to the physical crime scene, the bedroom. It was also designed to support his runaway story, wasn't it?
100%. It was textbook staging. Her books are open on the desk, like she just stepped out for a moment.
And her wardrobe is full, reinforcing that idea of a sudden, impulsive departure without any planning.
But the barrister's genius is that he trusts the small details more than the big performance. He's not looking for what's missing. He's looking for what's wrong.
And he finds it inside a drawer, a broken perfume bottle.
Yes, a tiny shard of glass.
Why is that so important? I mean, it's just a bottle.
Because a woman who decides to just run away doesn't stop to smash a perfume bottle inside a drawer. It suggests a struggle, a moment of quick, contained violence.
Ah, okay, so that one detail completely flips the script.
Flips everything. It changes the entire assumption from runaway wife to contained struggle. And suddenly the sister's frantic warnings about Owen, that he'd changed lately, always angry, that a phone call cut out, they stop being just emotional outbursts.
They become critical evidence.
They become corroboration for the violence suggested by the bottle. The staged calm on the outside was hiding something explosive on the inside.
So at this point, the barrister knows he's not looking for a missing person. He's looking for a victim and a perpetrator who is actively managing a cover-up.
Exactly. So the next logical step is to test the edges of that cover-up. Talk to people on the outside.
Okay, let's pivot to the witnesses, because this is where Owen's whole plan really starts to fray at the edges. First up is the housemaid, Lucy.
And she's terrified of her, which is important. She speaks in a whisper, which tells you her testimony is probably reliable because she's scared to get it.
And she gives them two key pieces of information. First, she heard loud arguments the night Marina vanished,
Which confirms the struggle theory from the broken bottle.
and second, and this is the big one, she saw Mr. Caldwell leaving the house light that night, carrying something heavy.
That phrase, something heavy, just completely destroys the idea that Marina walked out on her own. It's a game changer.
Of course, when Owen's confronted, he just dismisses it. Lies. People like making stories.
But the lie is his. And then, just when you think it can't get more complex, another witness comes forward. The elderly neighbor, Mrs. Harriet Dawson.
And she says she saw someone. Someone who looked exactly like her, walking down the alley around 11 p.m.
And this is the moment. Owen has been cool and collected through everything else. But the source material says when he heard this, he froze.
Why? Why would he freeze? Isn't that what he wanted? A witness to the escape.
Yes, but it's the ambiguity that gets him. Someone looking exactly like her, that little seed of doubt. He needed it to be a clean sighting, a confirmation. But the neighbor's uncertainty, combined with what Lucy saw, the heavy object being moved, It creates contradiction.
So he's already moved something heavy, suggesting Marina's already gone, but then there's a sighting hours later.
Exactly. The barrister's insight here is incredible. He asks himself, what if the woman Mrs. Dawson saw wasn't Marina, but someone disguises her?
The escape itself was faked, staged.
The walkout was the final act of the performance. And Owen froze because he realized the neighbor's testimony wasn't the perfect confirmation he hoped for. It was a potential crack in the whole facade.
So the investigation pivots again. It's no longer who took Marina, but who staged the walkout.
And once you ask that question, the proof comes pretty quickly. The barrister works on the theory that if it was a disguise, Owen would need to get it from somewhere.
So they start checking local rental shops?
And bingo! A
Oh.
costume shop owner says a man came in and rented two very specific items, a blonde wig and a beige overcoat.
Wow. A full disguise just to trick one elderly neighbor for a few seconds in the dark.
It shows you how desperate he was. And the owner gives them the final nail in the coffin. He sees Owen's photograph and says, same eyes, same voice.
It's him. He impersonated his own wife to create a false witness account.
That rental receipt confirms the entire deception. But Owen still had one more card to play. He needed to suggest a final outcome, a reason for everyone to stop looking.
The purse by the lake.
Right. A fisherman finds a purse in the reeds. Inside is Marina's ID and a broken necklace her sister had given her. It's planted evidence.
She's trying to make it look like a suicide or maybe a tragic accident by the water to complete his story of the emotional woman who walked off into the night.
It's actually a pretty clever, if awful, strategy. He stages the walkout, and then he plants the purse to suggest an ending. Case closed.
But every piece of his complicated plan just created more evidence against him. The wig rental, the planted purse.
He was weaving his own net. Every time he tried to plug a hole, he created another piece of evidence that could be traced directly back to him and his actions.
So with all this, the behavioral analysis, the physical evidence, the witnesses, the rental receipt, they go back to confront Owen.
And that smooth practice composure we saw at the start, it's completely gone.
The source says his voice cracked, his hands were trembling, the mask finally fell.
The cognitive load of maintaining such a complex lie just became too much. He tried one last denial.
But the barrister didn't even argue. He just listed the facts, one by one. The wig rental shop, the disguise, the neighbor's testimony, the broken bottle, your late-night movements, and the purse in the lake.
It's an inescapable chain of evidence, all built from Owen's own choices. It connects the violence inside the house directly to the cover-up outside.
And he breaks. He gives a partial confession, trying to minimize the damage. He says, I staged her escape to avoid suspicion, but I didn't kill her.
He's admitting to the deception to avoid the murder charge. But that just leads to the final obvious question.
The one the barrister asks next, then where is she?
And Owen's quiet answer is the final twist. She's out. She's in the basement.
Unbelievable. So she was there the whole time.
She was. Unconscious, tied up, but unharmed, hidden behind some old boxes. He confessed he'd locked her up after she said she was leaving him. He panicked and then started building this whole elaborate lie to cover his tracks.
So if you really think about it, Owen was undone by the sheer complexity of his own guilt. A simple denial might have been harder to crack.
That's the key takeaway here. The barrister himself says it at the end. In truth, Owen solves it himself. I only nudged his guilt.
His attempt to control the story, to stage every detail, is what created the very trail that led them right back to his door.
Which leaves a really interesting question for you to think about. What do you think was Owen's biggest mistake? Was it the initial act of violence, the thing that left the broken perfume bottle and started the whole thing? Or was it the tactical error of renting the wig, the one piece of hard evidence that proved the entire escape was a fraud?
An incredibly detailed deception that was, in the end, just too elaborate to be true. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.